You don't see like, let's go to your local church and do they have a gaming night? No. Or do they have an anime night? No. Where are they going to watch the old anime Bible stories? Like
Bible Black.
That's a good one. I'm going to mention that. Yeah.
Cutiespectives is presented ad-free thanks to the support of viewers like you. Hello everyone, welcome back to Cutiespectives, sharing the perspectives of people all throughout the LGBT spectrum. I'm Jasmine Page, and today I'm welcoming another very special guest to the show, drag queen Jimmy Sherfy. Thank you so much for joining me, Jimmy.
Hello. Yes, I'm the cosplayer, drag queen, etc. Jimmy Sherfy, not the baseball player Jimmy Sherfy. This hat might confuse the audience. I don't know if you know about that. There's a baseball player with my name.
Oh no, I didn't know that at all. Yeah, you do this unique thing more so than other cosplayers, or not cosplayers, but drag queens in particular, is that you do incorporate cosplay into your drag performances.
Yeah, I mean, there's some other drag queens that like they do all cosplay, or maybe they don't do only cosplay, but I only do cosplay. Like I don't have like a drag persona per se. The cosplays, I guess, are my persona.
Oh, that is so much fun. Yeah, I love watching all your performances. I don't think I've seen it in person, but I saw all the videos and like they're really fun.
Well, later I'll give you a list of where maybe you can see me soon. Yeah.
Oh, yes, I would love to. But let's go ahead and start with a few quick icebreakers. Why don't you just introduce yourself? Tell us who you are and what you do.
Sure, yeah. I'm Jimmy Sherfy, and I reside in San Diego, but I do travel all over, of course, especially all around Southern California and beyond. But and I've been cosplaying for like 16 years since 2010. And I am a drag performer, and I've been doing drag and like drag shows since like 2017. So a few years in now too. And I own my own business doing characters for kids parties and other like for hire events. And like I'm one of the performers, but I also book all the other performers and do all the business side of things. And I also have my own drag show that is currently mostly doing conventions. We've done some local venues, but it's called Haus of Cosplay. And it's an all cosplay drag show that we've done like Anime LA and a few other. We're the first drag show at any anime convention in Southern California. There might have been some smaller cons that had kind of a drag show, not like a cosplay drag show at an anime convention. So I hate to be like toot my own horn, like I did help bring something like that around. And where else have we done it? Canada in Vancouver I've been bringing the show everywhere, so that's kind of one of my newer things is my own drag cosplay show also.
That's fantastic. I have seen House of Drag around. I had no idea that you were the founding person of that.
Yeah, that's me. Yes. It's now. Well, I had to rebrand the name to Jimmy Sherfy's House of Cosplay Drag Extravaganza. So my name is now in the title, just to kind of, before it wasn't, and I was like, well, I just wanted to like be known that like, yeah, I am the one who put this together, produced it.
That is fantastic. Oh my god. I wish I knew that beforehand. I would have had more questions to ask for that in particular.
You can throw some in, I'm sure.
Yeah, maybe we'll get to that later. But first, in your particular field, what is your experience with the LGBT community?
Oh, well, just being the big old gay that I am. Yeah, definitely like, I'm more like when it comes to like the queer community, I more like know like the nerdy side. So when it comes to like, when I was growing up, like Comic-Con was the only time I saw gay people. Because that would be like there would be like gay panels when I was like an older teenager that I would kind of be like watching in the back. And then I really didn't get like into like the drag community, I think relatively recently. Now it's been quite a few years, but like 2017 or so. So to become familiar with like kind of like the local stages and even just the bars in general, because I don't even drink. Like my energy drink is my choice of drink. I don't really drink alcohol. I mean, I've dabbled a little bit, but I'm not a fan. So I don't necessarily go to like the bars. So that's why I say like the nerdier stuff. Like if there's a cosplay event or even like a gamer night, things like that. Did I answer your question there?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's really cool like to see those different sides. Like, cause I know like there's a lot of people within the community who don't really like tend to go into the geeky side, but I think that's where I've also met a lot of friends. I don't know if people have noticed that with the prior guests on this show in particular. But in this field, in drag or in like any kind of particular field that you're in, how do you feel that the LGBT community is represented?
So, like, I talked about this too recently, just with some friends, because I mean, we all live in like a bubble, I guess. And to me, like, nerdy stuff was always very like queer or queer identifying, and we just felt like comfortable in that like bubble, I guess, or that crowd. So when I hear like not to being up politics, but when I hear that like, oh, certain community cosplayer, whatever the person saying something, I'm kind of like, oh, to me this was our community, like, or this was like an ally community also. Like everyone is like well known that like there's so many queer people in the like nerdy spaces, because I feel like even if you are a straight cis white man who's into anime and comics, you're familiar that like there's some weird or there's some, everything's about like being different in all of these different kind of fandoms.
No, I totally resonate with that like ideology, because like there's a lot of like individuals within like the gaming and geek spaces that they really share like conservative beliefs. And I guess it kind of depends on like the kind of gamer or nerd that they are.
Yeah, I'm like, where did y'all come from? What games were you playing?
Yeah, exactly. But I heard a lot of people like complaining that like, oh, why are there pronouns in this game? It's like, bro, they've been asking you since Pokemon, like, are you a boy or a girl at the very beginning? It's like,
when you buy a Furby, if anyone's of the age of Furbies, you have to choose if you're like the mother or the father. And if I think maybe the baby's gender. Sorry, there's no non-binary they them option, but back then. So, but still, yeah, like it's pretty. I don't know. I just don't like. Yes, I do agree that like nerdy spaces are for everybody, but it is also like, oh, you're not cool with the gays and the queers and the et cetera letters. I'm a little shocked sometimes.
yeah, same here, honestly.
You don't see like, let's go to your local church and do they have a gaming night? No. Or do they have an anime night? No. Where are they gonna watch the old anime Bible stories? Like
Bible Black.
yeah, that's a good one. I'm gonna mention that. Yeah.
So in your opinion, what are your thoughts on the community as a whole?
I don't know if I really have an opinion. We just exist, Like that's all we're trying to do, really, right? Does that make sense? I don't really have we're just trying to be out there with everyone else. Obviously everyone's trying to be seen, be heard, and not be shoved back in the closet like society still tells us to do. Maybe not as much anymore, so we thought, but I mean, I'm just trying to obviously support my own community. And also, like, there's plenty of other communities that I'm not involved in that I also support. But I feel also when you are like part of the LGBT plus community, you're a part of so many other communities, right? Like,
yeah,
we like minorities like kind of back each other. At least that's what I feel like most of us feel like. Obviously, I know that's not quite the case in some situations, but that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I totally resonate with that idea. A lot of us are like trying to be pushed back by certain groups of individuals. But it's just like that sense of otherness that like is kind of like mainstreamed by like certain individuals. But like we're all human and we're all in this together, and there shouldn't be like that separation.
Yeah, and I guess maybe also because I'm a little older now. When I was growing up, if you were like a nerd, well, like a geek specifically, like a nerdy geek, you like were into video games, anime, even like specific types of music, you were othered already. So maybe not so. Maybe that's not what it is right now with the kids because anime is cool, I guess. But it's definitely like oh, if you liked anime, you were one of the queers. Like you were not like in the cool crowd by any means. Maybe when Dragon Ball Z became more popular, there was a group of like straight men mostly that were like, oh, we talk about this and like one or two other anime. But even then they were still considered nerds, right? And I'm over here with like the girls and the gays talking about Sailor Moon and shit. So it still was like you're still othered at that point. I don't really know if that's the case anymore. Like maybe that's why there's so many like, or there's more conservative, say, gamers, like gaming channels or whatever that are just like hating on any other representation or why is everything gay. Maybe that's why it is, because nerdy things are more in the mainstream, and when I was growing up they were not, so I felt like I had like a community within that community.
Right. It kind of like goes with this argument that I've been trying to like propose to other individuals is that like a lot of queer individuals are attracted to counterculture things. Like I know a lot
Mm-hmm.
of trans people who are really into like heavy metal or Halloween and stuff. Halloween's like a big gay holiday because it is like these
Exactly. Oh
countercultural
yeah.
thing. Like a lot of like geek
Yeah,
culture is counterculture to like what mainstream society like puts on us.
exactly. But I guess now maybe it's not, maybe it's more mainstream than we thought,
Yeah, it's definitely more mainstream nowadays.
which is has definitely has its benefits, but I'm thinking maybe that's where that, to me, that weird, it's weird in the sense of like it's different now, that there is kind of more of a, there's more types of people into our fandoms and stuff that don't identify with the experiences that we've had.
Yeah, I totally resonate with that idea. But let's move on to what I know you are most proficient at, and that is with drag. Could you start us off with like just kind of like a brief history of how drag came to be?
Oh, like in my life or in the rest of the world?
Just in general, yeah. We'll get to your life in a second.
Ooh, see, I'm not even an expert around that. I mean, like, I always hear people, I'm just gonna go by what people tell me. I mean, I always hear people
Hmm.
talk about like, um, that like back in the day, like, as we're talking, I don't know if it's like Shakespeare, like all the parts were played by men,
Hmm.
which was kind of more of a misogynistic thing, but it was pretty common for men to be playing the female roles and obviously dressing up to present more feminine. And then what's another example? Uh, I've heard that like the term drag means like dress resembling a girl. I don't know if that's official or that's what it used to. Obviously, that's what it used to mean. Because that's not really what it means to me nowadays. But we can get to that. When I think of drag, I also think of like the older, I don't know the name of it offhand, but the Japanese theaters that would do all women playing all the roles.
Oh yeah.
And I always thought that was really cool. So when I think of like, there's all these like different things of like where drag has been, like when I was growing up, it was like Mrs. Doubtfire, that's drag. Bugs Bunny, that's drag. Like he was always in drag,
Right.
wearing like crazy makeup. So I don't know the official history technically. And then when I was growing up, RuPaul was already like a big thing. Like I used to watch RuPaul's talk show all the time. And I remember seeing his music videos. And so I just feel like obviously RuPaul's the most famous drag queen in the world. So that's just kind of what I've seen as the history. And then of course, there's lots of things I've skipped, like ballroom culture.
Hmm.
Yeah, anything else you want to add to that? I don't know.
Well, the way that I've heard like it kind of told, it was like more when it became more mainstream, it was a kind of like a protest. for in like
okay,
conservative like
for
kind of
sure.
areas for because like women weren't allowed to like be in certain places, so like men kind of took up the mantle, and it's kind of like a parody almost in a sense of like how these certain individuals behave, like how women behave and how men can take that role or something. It's something along those lines. I'm not an expert at it at all as well. I've seen a couple documentaries, I feel, but that's kind of like basically what it is. It started as like a protest movement, and then like it just kind of evolved from there.
Yeah, I don't really know the whole history now that I think about it, you know, like I know there's like the ballroom culture, like Paris is Burning, the documentary. I have seen it, but
Yes.
it's been a while. But I know like that's kind of where a lot of like what drag is now is kind of came from.
Yeah, and voguing.
Even like lip syncs and stuff, like all kind of came from more like I feel like the 80s, maybe even the 70s, is when like kind of pop culture drag kind of like merged together maybe more.
Yeah.
I wasn't alive for the first decade, but the 80s I was, you know, a wee child.
All right, so let's go into like something that you might be familiar with. Just how long does it typically take you to doll up?
Okay, so no matter what like cosplay I'm doing, I definitely minimum 2 hours, right? And that can be like the most like I mean, even when I do like male characters with natural makeup, I do need some time, right? And so I want to say though, when I'm doing like, I'm gonna call it like more like very feminine presenting, like female cosplay drag characters, I definitely try to give myself 2 hours exactly just for the makeup. So it doesn't include like showering, shaving, putting on the wigs and costumes, just like 2 hours for the makeup. I can do it in a good like hour if I'm like, I don't want to say rushed, but like focused. Because there are times when I'm getting ready, I'm like, oh, I'm already done almost. So then I'll slow down. But and there's other times where it's like I'm freaking out, depending on obviously why I'm doing my makeup that day. If I'm like going to a con, going to a show. So I need a good 2 hours. I want to say the most I've ever taken is like 3 hours, but maybe I was doing something different or like crazier that day. And the quickest I've ever really done like more like intense drag makeup is, I want to say 45 minutes ish, probably more like an hour if that would be like the quickest, but I need a good 2 hours at least, I want to say.
Yeah, you do these kind of elaborate cosplays. I remember seeing recently you did like this Beast Boy cosplay and like your skin's all green, but then sometimes you do like these like the Birdo costume and I freaking love that.
Also, I don't know if I really even said this, but or we didn't get to it, because I do like male characters in drag shows also. So especially when I'm doing that, I do even do like my makeup a little more intense. Like I do look at like drag king makeup sometimes. So when I do like the full face painted characters, I don't think I've really done super like feminine ones yet. I want to, but like yes, I did Beast Boy like literally the other day, but those are like so quick. I feel like those are my go-to easier makeup than like trying to look like a pretty woman. So but I do look at drag king makeup sometimes, like and some people do call me a drag king if they've only seen me do like male characters in shows and stuff, but I'm like, oh, like that's, I don't care what they call me as long as there's a paycheck. Right. So usually I say I'm just like a drag cosplay performer in general. But yeah, so Beast Boy took like an hour, we'll say. And like a take my time hour. Like I wasn't like rushing. I kind of have that one, the like Beast Boy, Nightcrawler, anything that's like a full face. I kind of have like a routine down more. I do have a routine when I do like high femme characters like Princess Peach and like She-Ra, I kind of do. I mean, I feel like Princess Peach I've done so many times that I kind of have that one down. But I just feel like trying to look somewhat natural, like as far as like my natural skin tone with like drag makeup versus otherworldly colors like green and blue, kind of I can get them done quicker for some reason. And they are more masculine presenting, but sometimes I do have to look up like, oh, how should I do this to like look more, well, like say like look more feminine versus like look more masculine, like Beast Boy. I'm like, oh, I try to copy the drag king makeup a little bit. Like I don't want it to be like exactly drag king necessarily, but I want like little tastes of it. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, totally. See, the ones that I'm more familiar with for you is like obviously Princess Peach, but like also like Gem. That was like a really like cool cosplay too.
Thank you. That one was harder. Like, or well, actually, it was. I was more scared because I am like a huge Gem fan, and I like dream. Actually, like that's one of my maybe like my drag goals was to like I want to be Gem. But now after I did it, I've done Gem a couple times. It's a little easier because her entire eyeshadow just like takes up like your whole eye area. I'm not normally I'm like, oh no, like getting those little details and whatever. I'm like, well, hers is all just like one color and like highlighted and whatever. So I kind of got that one down. But I was really kind of scared to do Gem. I don't want to like, I don't know, mess it up.
Yeah, I totally understand that, but like you did a fantastic job. So in your opinion, is drag an art form?
Oh yeah, like, I mean, obviously it's different for everyone else. To me, like drag is an art form, cosplay is an art form, but like also especially drag is also like now it's like a profession, right? And I mean, to me, cosplay has become like a profession too. It's all like kind of together. But you can just do drag for like clearly a hobby, and that's especially an art form. Or some people see it differently, like they're doing drag and then they kind of find themselves, and a lot of like trans people have come out because of starting drag, or because drag let them experience that, or like without being like, I guess maybe shamed, because it was kind of like they know how to express their inner self, I guess.
Yeah.
That's not my experience, really. I mean, I have similar experiences, but I see it all the time, and I'm like, nope, totally, I get it. Like, I see that everyone's path is different, and some people want to do drag, like I said, for a job. Some people want to just like dress up for funsies every now and then. Some of my friends, they cosplay at cons, and they only cosplay in drag. They don't consider themselves drag queens necessarily. I mean, now I feel like it's so much easier. Like back in the like mid 2000s, maybe even earlier than that, people always said crossplay when you were at cons, and kind of putting in like cross dressing, which is part of drag. I feel like it's a different kind of thing, because it's more of like you're just dressing up your like your everyday life, but you're not trans, you're not necessarily a drag queen. I don't know, everyone has their own definition, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, but they called it crossplay because it was words cosplay and cross-dressing like together. So that's what I grew up knowing it as. And now someone's actually, the same day you interviewed me as Princess Peach, I went to the cosplay repair because I had like a little stain on my outfit, getting a little Tide pin, and there was like an older man working there, and he was very complimentary. He was like, oh, you look amazing, like something very nice. And then he kind of said like a little comment of like all the anyone who's cross-playing looks like better than the rest of us, or like something like that, which I definitely took as a compliment. I was like, okay, like, especially as an older person, right. I don't know, I don't really hear that term used so much anymore, and like I don't really use it except for when we're talking about like how like you got into things like cons and stuff. Then someone working in the for the con came up to me and they were like, "Hey, I'm so sorry. Like I told him like he can't like say that and like hope you're okay." And I was like, "Oh no, I'm cool." Like I knew what he meant and like I took it as the compliment he was trying to give. Like, no, you're all good. So that was really nice of her to like check in with me, but it didn't even like I didn't even think about it, you know. I knew he wasn't like being malicious or anything, so
Yeah, terminology like that like is always adapting, and like some people are more careful than others, and but like as long as you like come from a place without malice or anything.
yeah.
Well, yeah, drag is like definitely like I view it as an art form. Of course, it's like derivative of like other things like theater. There are drag performers who sing, they dance, and everything. It's the unification of all these different art forms that like make something completely unique, especially with like the makeup, the hair, the outfits. It's all like culminates into like something like incredibly unique and different than like just having all these different things separate. So in my opinion, like drag is definitely like an art form, and for some people it is a lifestyle as well. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's really cool to like hear that like other individuals they are coming out because of it, because it is like really a good safe place to express yourself, because like you're on stage and everyone's like cheering and applauding you for like just expressing yourself like that, and it's like such a cool thing for like those individuals.
Definitely, yeah.
So do you believe that gender dictates whether or not you can be a drag queen?
No. And I know traditionally we're gonna say, 'cause we're so traditional and conservative around here, you know, it's like a cis man dressing up as a woman is considered like what drag is, but that's not really how I got into drag anyway. So when I started getting involved in the drag community, I mean, like, yes, well, first of all, I obviously knew what drag kings were. Like, I knew that, traditionally, this is like a cis woman dressing up as a male presenting look. So that was already like common. Well, at least in my community, it's, oh my God, we have so many awesome drag kings in San Diego. Versus when I go to LA, I'm like, where's the drag kings? Like they like, yes, of course they're around. They're just not seen as much maybe. And then I started to notice there was like cis women that like do female presenting drag, and like they're still drag queens, and there's like a whole bunch of different versions of so-and-so's names of how they describe their drag. So that's a whole nother, I don't even know like what necessarily that's really called anymore. To me, it doesn't matter. That's why I don't really think about it. And there obviously, and obviously there's like always been trans women doing drag, perform so, which is also kind of, some people find that very confusing, and I get that. Like, you're like, oh, is this person trans or are they a drag queen? And I'm like, they can be both. And same with, you know, trans men can do drag as queens, kings, things. I've heard drag thing a lot, especially lately. I like that. I think it's really cute, or it's really like has like a good like sound to it. I mean, I feel like I'm in that category, even though I don't necessarily always, wouldn't really use that term to describe my like drag and cosplay. But so it's grown so much, and I feel like everyone can do drag. There's like, we see cis straight men doing drag, you know, as they kind of always have been, but now it's seen like, oh, they're not queer, we can't have them in our space. And I'm like, yeah, we can, as long as they're like allies. Same with like all women doing drag, like, and I feel like to me burlesque is part of drag as well. Like they're so, like, you go to a burlesque show and you go to a drag show, they're like so similar.
Right.
And when I started in the drag scene, there was always like a burlesque performer involved. Every now and then, like, there was such a cool overlap that I was like, yeah, we're all just out here wearing like costumes to an extent and entertaining. So I'm open to anyone and everyone kind of getting in, dipping their toes, getting the gigs, or just having fun.
Heck yeah. Like, in my opinion, like, drag is for everyone. Like, it's open to, like, anyone. Sure, it started out as, like, just men performing as women, but it's evolved over time. There's a lot of, like, people who are very much purist or traditionalist about it, who say, like, women don't belong in drag, and that's kind of where, like, drag kings, evolved from. But, like, honestly, I've seen some, like, incredible performances by, like, cis women who perform as drag queens, and cis men who perform as drag kings, and like it's all very cool.
And I think the best part is when you don't even know, you have no idea what is under this wig and costume. I've actually had that happen to me. It was an older drag queen came to a show I was in, and like, I don't know, said hi afterwards, and they were like, I didn't know if I was performing as like a male character, but a gender bent version of a female character. Yeah, that's a whole, like, you know, explanation. But I was not gonna have with like a 60-year-old person right now, like, just, you know, because I just met them, and they're like, I didn't know if you were a boy or a girl, and I made a joke of like, that's what I was going for, or like, yep, success, or like, yeah, cool, you know, like, that's kind of like, to me, it was kind of a funny thing to say, but they meant it. I think they meant it in a good way. They weren't saying it like, you know, like someone on the street yelling like, are you a boy or a girl? Because that's definitely happened to me before. And so I just think that was kind of cool. I was like, yeah, we don't always have to play by the rules, you know, even our own rules.
And I think that's where like the essence of like drag comes from, is like this mystique, this androgyny from the performers themselves. And like, I feel like the evolution of drag was just necessary. Not just necessary, it was a given.
For sure, yeah.
So we see a lot of mainstream drag through television nowadays, with shows like, as you mentioned before, RuPaul's Drag Race, taking the art by storm. Queens are typically quite catty and very competitive, leading to viral and albeit some crude moments. Is this how the drag scene is off camera, or is this just reality TV being a spectacle?
For the most part, I would say reality TV being a spectacle, for a lot of it. But like, yeah, we be shady backstage, okay? Like, honestly, we always joke about like, oh, like the backstage is like the real show, right? Sometimes, you know, I don't really think it's like for the most part, there's no like real drama. Like, sometimes we're just having fun, or like funny things happen. Like when you watch Drag Race and they're getting ready doing their makeup and they're kind of like teasing each other or like saying like funny shady things, that does seem like real and common. But at the same time, me especially, but even other queens, like, I am focused. I gotta change. Usually we're doing multiple like performances, multiple looks, we're changing, we're like rushing, so there's a lot of that. I feel like the more of like the like cutting up happens maybe like as the show's before the show's starting or like near the end. But like I'm like stressed as hell at some shows, and I see other performers even more so. Like, I've heard, like, this is not like any detailed tea, but, you know, I've been with like Landon Sider doing his makeup. He does like amazing transformations like in one show, and I just hear like you know, like the F word over and over again, freaking out. And like, that's the case where I'm like, I'm gonna let any person, but I'm gonna let that person do their thing. I don't want to interrupt. So now when it comes to like the competitiveness, I feel like that's a TV thing, right? Like, yes, of course there is like some people are competitive with like, oh, I want to be the best one in the show, right? I want to put on the best number, I guess. I don't feel like most people are like that. You know, you want to be maybe somebody's favorite, but you don't need to be like the best. or what does that mean? Like that's just gonna be someone's opinion, right? So I feel like in an actual drag show, in like a venue we just we want everyone to have a good time. We want everyone to do well. We don't want anyone to have like a bad number or a bad experience, or like we want to keep the audience like energy up. So the competition part of what you see on reality TV is definitely like, a combination of like the editing, the producers, the drag performers are definitely like putting on a show also. Like it's a show for TV versus a show for a venue where like, you're not seeing all that stuff backstage. So there is the competitive aspect. I always joke like I'm not a competitive person, I say at least. But I was joking with someone, they were like, oh, like you're not, like you wouldn't be like on Drag Race, like oh bitch, I'm gonna steal the crown. I would like, no, I would go in with my interview, be like, well, hopefully I'm here next week, because I ain't gonna win this or I don't know, or they would be like, oh, you're going home. I'd be like, all right, see you guys, like, just like I joked like that. But I don't know, I don't really have I've done like, cosplay competitions, and I've done a couple like drag competitions where it's like a one night thing, not like a pageant, and I'm just doing them like to experience everything. I'm not there to like win necessarily. Like if I place something, that's exciting when I do like competitions. Yeah, they like, it's kind of like cosplay. People think cosplay is a competition. It is if you're in one, like if there's like someone where there's winning and there's a prize. So that's why on Drag Race there is a competitiveness, because someone's got to win this money, right? So it's a little mixture of everything, but mostly I would say that's the TV magic for the most part.
Right. So like there is this kind of like catty nature behind the scenes, but it's more for like the fun of it, and like the community in itself is like more cooperative, right?
Yeah, like of course there's drama. Like oh my god, I don't, so like I only hear about most of the drama. Like there was a competition at a local bar, and I guess someone didn't win, and they like threw a fit backstage.
Oh.
There was a fight in the parking lot, and everyone on social media is like talking about this, right? Or like I've seen, I was busy, I was at a convention, but so, and to us that's funny, like oh my god, because it doesn't happen that often. Like
right.
Like I feel it's more the opposite. It's more like when you show up to like a gig, you're like, oh my god, like I get to see like my friends, maybe, that I don't get to like. It depends. Sometimes you don't always perform with the same people, so there's always like you're catching up, and sometimes when you're catching up, yeah, there is a little like sometimes there's some funny things said too, definitely had like funny moments backstage, things like that, but usually it's just like we're excited to like work together, we're excited to perform together.
Yeah, how fun. That's really sweet that like everyone's like just in it for each other. Well, I guess like unless you're like that individual in the parking lot.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Yeah.
Well, let's move on to a different subject. Let's switch it up a little bit. So I know I don't have to remind you or anyone out there rather of the utter chaos that is brewing around the world at this very moment. You yourself have been very vocal regarding your views through your platform. Why is it important for you to voice your opinion when so many others don't?
To me, it's just like, oh, I have a platform, I want to speak on it. And to me, everyone has a platform anyway. Like,
yeah.
You got two friends on Facebook that might see what you got to say. Or just nowadays, especially, like we all want to tell the world everything, whether that be negative or positive. And I don't know. I'm always like, I used to be a little bit quieter, it was just in general in life, but like maybe I wouldn't necessarily say something, or I just wouldn't know what was going on actually. So now I feel like I'm more aware, woke as they like to call us, I'm just a little, I'm not like, again, I don't even think I'm an expert on most things, but I try to like keep up with a lot of what's going on, especially in our community. So I don't know. I just want to. Sometimes you just want to scream about it, but like, or share at least other posts telling people what's going on. Yeah, I've definitely gotten some weird backlash about that. I don't know if you've seen certain things, because I will call a bitch out, okay? Like about a year ago, someone responded to like my Instagram stories and they just said like, why is everything so political? Like, why can't you just post your cosplays? And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like, and it started a whole thing where she like made a whole video about me responding to her. And of course, I made a video back. There was like a 3-parter. I even started selling merch based on this situation. I should have worn that shirt, actually. So, yeah, I will bring. Look, I'm gonna bring that catty drag backstage energy to social media to an extent when it comes to like important issues. Like, this certain person was saying things like, why do you keep posting like all this trans stuff? And I was like, because this is literally happening in our community. Sorry, it's not your experience, because you're like, I don't know, in another state that you're just living in your own bubble. That's why I'm posting about it. She don't know what's going on. So yeah, I guess that's kind of why that stuff's important to me, is getting the information out. Usually it's just I want to get the information out there to those who don't know. It's not like I'm not trying to be like a shock thing of like, oh my god, this is happening here and this is happening there. It's just you want people to know what's going on and how you feel about it.
Yeah, it's incredibly important, especially if you have like a huge platform to inform other people of like the real atrocities that are going on, not even like locally but globally as well.
Hmm.
You did mention something earlier where like everyone has this platform, and that is really important for like to identify that like everyone does have this platform, no matter how big you are. Like, you can have the power to like voice your opinion. But there's some people who like try to avoid those kind of like subjects or heavy topics. So why do you think people avoid touching on sensitive topics online?
I don't know why as far as their inner feelings, but I guess if they feel like, oh, I might lose this or that, I don't know, opportunity, or a follower because I said something that didn't stay to like what their, let's say it's a cosplayer and they only post about this, and if they stray one little thing off of that, people aren't going to want to like see what they do. I guess that's the point. Or if you're like even a big time like artist, like a singer, and you don't want to say something political, that's the same reason, right? You might lose like a fan base, right? But I'm like, in my opinion, the art that I like expresses my opinions already, right? Like, or the art that I make also, for the most part, like, or it's, I don't know, I thought it'd be pretty obvious. Oh, if I love the X-Men, then I love some equality, like stuff like that.
Yes.
Oh, I like magical girls, so of course I like gay shit. Of course I I don't know, support like trans representation. Or I just feel like it's usually it's apparent, right? Like, but it goes back to what I said earlier about like, I thought if you like anime, then you wrapped in with the queers already. Like, they're calling you the F slur, like, even if you're not like don't identify in that community. So I don't always know why people don't want to do that. I do understand maybe that sometimes like they don't understand like one side versus the other when it comes to like this country's at war with this country necessarily. If they see that as similar, when like, I don't know, this religious group versus this minority, and they don't know the details. So that's the thing, is we're trying to let people know the details, right?
Right.
Maybe like like, will I listen to a cis woman who's saying like, this is why I don't like trans people in like the certain bathrooms, right? Yes, I will listen to their opinion. And I would hope they would listen to mine, right? Or their view, right? Obviously I think certain people's views are like more, I don't want to say clouded, but like there's a reason why they have those views. So I might be mad about it, so, but I will like hear it, read it. So I would hope people do the same for us. I don't, I'm not saying everyone needs to go out there and scream on social media, because also if I'm seeing someone's stories and it's like 50 different things and they're all kind of the same things that we're talking about, like they're all something about something happened somewhere. Sure, like I understand that. Like, so I do share what I want to share, like, or talk about what I want to talk about, and then here's my show coming up. Also, here's a random picture of me, like feeling cute. Here's something I'm mad about political. Here's a really slutty artwork that somebody drew. And so some of my friends respond, or I'm like, here's my business page mixed in there, like doing kids parties, and someone's like, wow, your stories go all over the place, and I'm like, yeah, because that's how life is.
So the way I always saw like people who are afraid to like post or even like view other people's like opinions online is I think this is like also rooted in like human psychology as well. People seek out their truths that they already have. They're afraid to listen to like any opposition like that. This is like very apparent for like people who are very like dogmatic in their beliefs, such as an example like flat earthers. No matter how much empirical evidence that there is to like go against their views, they will always, like, no matter what, find some way to like make their truth be their reality. But it's important to like have like uncomfortable conversations sometimes about the opposition, or to hear other people's sides, because that's how you grow, that's how you communicate, that's how you learn, that's how you're not so dogmatic in your belief system. It's super important to have like those kind of like uncomfortable conversations online with other individuals, and like, yeah, people like will probably unfollow you, and that's fine. Those individuals are just not ready to have those kind of like conversations, and they may never will be. It's up to us, like, as individuals, to be steadfast in our views, but also be aware and be open-minded about like other people's like views when they're different.
Absolutely, yeah. When you said flat earthers, I was like, yep. You picked the ultimate.
That's the best example when it comes to those certain individuals.
Right. I've met a couple.
So there are many individuals who feel that people outside of political affiliation, and you've mentioned this before, be they actors or influencers, should keep silence on their views, to stay in their lane, so to speak. Do you think this suppression of speech is necessary?
No. I feel like if you if you're worried about losing an audience, you're gonna gain like the audience that actually you need, right? Like if you're using social media as an example, like I feel like if I'm speaking on something, the people that are like agreeing with me especially are gonna be more they're gonna notice what I do more, right? Because like also my art expresses my like feelings, my political beliefs, my religious beliefs, I guess you could say too. So maybe people will identify with you more, is what I think. Or you will be more human to them. You're not gonna be on like a pedestal. That's more when I'm thinking like celebrities, you kind of if you're like secretive about everything, depending, obviously there's certain things you can keep private to yourself, of course. I guess an example is there is a cosplayer that I have known who did post something like I support this, that, and whatever, the stuff that kind of both of us would agree with. And they said something like, I fight their fights privately. Like, I'm not here on social media to like do that. And I'm like, well, that's their choice, but I don't particularly like their choice, right?
Right.
Like, I wish they would do it publicly more.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, like some people are afraid to like express their opinions, especially if they are of a minority opinion on those matters.
Some people are afraid, maybe their job, maybe
Right.
they can't. So if they can't, that sucks, so I can be understanding there.
We do live in America, at least like you and I, and we do have a First Amendment right for freedom of speech, and I feel like it is important for us as citizens to express that. The other day, I just went to the No Kings protest. It was my first protest that I've ever been to, and it was really, there was a lot of solidarity to be found there for people like completely different ideologies and backgrounds, and there was a lot of older people, there were some younger people, there was not a lot of people my age, but there was a lot of older people there too, and like we probably don't agree on like necessarily everything, but we united as at least under this certain ideal.
Yeah, I've been to a couple of protests or like marches, and even if you think this is going to do nothing, I feel like just being with people that are supportive in the way you are kind of gives you like a little feeling inside, like at least I like did something today, or at least I found, maybe you might make a friend, and that same thing can be done on social media to an extent. So
right, it is important though to like for the individuals who want to like dial it back and just not listen to like the opposition, it's important, like I feel, to respect the will of others while believing in your own. Continue to believe in like your truths and everything.
Mhm.
But at least like we're all human, we're all in this together. Everyone has their own differing opinion, and it is important for us to like to respect that, to respect other people's like views and opinions as well.
Very true. That's kind of what I was saying with the example of listening to someone's counter argument. I didn't say don't argue about it. I just said listen, and then go from there.
So what would you say to someone who wants to put their voice out there but is too afraid of the backlash that might come from it?
I always say, like, what's the worst that could happen? Like, think about the worst, like, or I'll ask them, like, what's the worst thing that can happen? And sometimes they do have a reason. Like, I've had people say, like, I can't say certain things because of my job, like whatever. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense, right? But what can you do then? Yeah, I guess you gotta kind of find a way to like you said, go to a protest, right? And versus being like seen on social media, right? Yeah, but I always ask, like, what's the worst that can happen? And I feel like that's kind of how I view a lot of things in life. Like, what's the worst, like, what's the worst thing that can happen today if I make this choice versus this choice? And sometimes if they say the worst thing that can happen is like someone's gonna unfollow me, then I'm like, oh, that's not that bad, right?
Right.
You don't want that bitch around anyway, right? Sometimes. So that's just kind of what I have actually said that to people, like, what's the worst that's gonna happen?
Yeah, it's good to like have that like mentality, like have that thought process to like figure out what is potentially like anything, like what is the worst thing that can happen, what is anything that can be bad that can happen, like before like posting whatever you want, but let's go back to like talking about drag once again. And we mentioned some of this stuff before, but Now I want to kind of like do something a little different than I usually do on this show. I want to abolish certain drag myths with your help, of course.
Okay.
So I'm going to state a few common drag myths, and we're gonna have just a brief conversation or discussion about each one. Are you cool with that?
Sure, yeah.
All right, first question. Is drag the same thing as cross-dressing?
I say no. I will like there is obviously some overlap, and I love when drag queens like Trixie Mattel will joke and be like, "I'm just a cross dresser here, like doing whatever," and I think that's funny. But like to me, it's definitely not. I feel like drag is the performance part. Like sometimes drag queens just go out like to the bars, right? Like go out to a club or a convention, and aren't like putting on a specific performance, right? Like no one's there like with a ticket in hand or came to see that, right? So to me it's not the same, but they have a lot of overlap.
Right. There is like the individual, like kind of like, are certain individuals, obviously like a cis man like dressing as a woman. This is like a cross-dressing like kind of behavior, but the two things aren't necessarily always hand in hand. I've known like many cross-dressers in my life because I did identify myself as cross-dresser before I came out as non-binary, and it's more of a lifestyle for certain individuals. I mean, like there is like some individuals who find it as like fetishistic, but it is more of a lifestyle, and drag is more of a performance art. And like, sure, drag queens can like go out in day-to-day places, but they are sort of putting on a show for other individuals, whereas cross-dressers, they typically just want to dress up and go out, and that's just how they feel.
Yeah, that's exactly kind of how I feel about it. Or I assume it is like the differences, you know?
Right, so this one's actually my favorite. Does watching drag turn people gay?
No. Or like, I don't... If only it was that easy. Yeah, like, I have a lot of straight friends who come to my shows, like, straight women obviously all the time, but like some straight men, they come with their wives. There's like regulars at like the bar I perform at that I always see them with like their girlfriend or a wife, and they're like, as far as I know, they're straight, because they're in a relationship with a woman, but
Right.
what do I know? But yeah, there's the it ain't that easy to turn someone gay. So if the I'm going to say the other side thinks that like electroshock therapy and de-gayification camps like make you straight, well, how do they think that like you like they think seeing like a guy in a wig with like a really overdrawn lip is just suddenly going to make this other man gay? Yeah, I just don't, and I don't see the correlation of like, if you're gay, you probably, well, everyone's different, but if you me, I identify as gay, a homosexual man. I don't usually look at a drag queen and am like turned on because I'm seeing female presentation, right? Like super high feminine. I mean, not always, but I'm more attracted to seeing a drag king. Even if I know this is a cis woman, or however they identify, I'm just giving an example, right? I'm like, oh my god, like, daddy, if that's so, that's not gonna turn me straight. So, so I don't really get that I don't know. Actually, I don't know if I've really ever heard that. But seeing a drag, maybe that's a weird thing conservatives say, right?
Right.
Like that we're grooming children because they're gonna see a drag queen and suddenly they're gonna be gay. Like I don't see how, but
right.
You know what? If only it was that contagious, and we could hook them in to. And when I say that we want them to be gay, we don't, but we want them to buy our merch, or like eventually, like, no, it's not gonna happen. So
Right, seems to be like this kind of like mentality with people like outside the community that like certain things turn people into certain things. Sure, maybe drag can be like an awakening for some individuals, but like if a straight cis man sees a drag queen and, like you said, is turned on by that performance, maybe they're not necessarily attracted to the performer, the male performer underneath, but they're attracted to like the femininity, and that doesn't necessarily like automatically turn you gay or not anything.
yeah, I've definitely had like some of my like cosplay friends, their boyfriends, uh, they're straight couples. Their boyfriends have been like, oh, like so and so is very hot, like in drag, and I'm like, oh, like, yeah, they are, like, and but he's seen like the like the female presentation. He's not attracted to. He's also like, I'm just giving an example. He's seen this person out of drag, and he's not saying like, yeah, I find them attractive, like stripped down to a normal a normal human, because sometimes drag queens look a little bit like out of this world, which is like I feel like is like what drag is, right? Even if it's like as a normal presenting, like drag queens and kings are like almost like cool creatures, but so you're seeing the creature, right? Like that's what they're attracted to.
This is kind of like going back to like is cross-dressing and drag the same thing? Are trans women and drag queens the same thing?
Clearly not, like I was saying earlier, but that's why people are confused, because there are a lot of trans women who are drag queens, right? Especially like when I was growing up, they were, but we didn't really like know the difference because the terms were not quite all there, right? I guess. So the answer is no. I do feel a lot of conservatives think that trans people are just all like drag queens. I would say kings too, but they don't even probably know. They don't know about all that even. They're just focused on the one kind of trans person and the one kind of drag queen, and they're just seeing them as the same when they are definitely not.
Yeah, there's definitely like this kind of weird mentality that individuals outside of the community, or who are just completely unaware of like self-identification, and people who tend to like go beyond like their gender norms that they're given at birth. Some people like just assume that everyone who like dresses differently or goes beyond this norm is drag, because like that's the only like kind of definition maybe that they are really understanding. But like trans women or trans people in general are not always in drag. There are, like you mentioned, a lot of like, or not even a lot. I don't even know. There are certain individuals within like the drag community who are trans, but like it's not a one-to-one like ever. Like there are plenty of trans people who are completely outside of the drag community, and they need to like people need to understand like there is the distinction between like what makes a drag performer and people who like self-identify as like that's them, that this is their being.
Yeah, I always tell people like drag performer, be it drag queen, king, etc., is like a couple of things. It's usually like I want to say a profession or a like art form, hobby, versus how someone identifies. Like no one really identifies as like a drag queen or a drag performer unless they're identifying like their kind of art, right? Like the that's not the same as like how you identify as a person.
Are all drag queens perverts?
No. But okay, I got several answers. No, we got some very religious drag queens out there. Just saying. Not that being religious doesn't make you not a pervert, actually. Like, let's just say, like, a photographer and a cosplayer, especially, like, a more, like, a female cosplayer who like dresses up as like superheroes, and like some superheroes are like sexy, and she was saying like, oh, we like perverts, we don't like predators. Like predator and pervert is not the same thing, right? Like, because like to me something perverted is funny, something that's like predatory is like gross, right? Like that's what I think about it. And I was like, that's really interesting. I never thought about that in those specific terms. But yeah, so what was the question? Are all drag queens perverts? No. Like or I guess they think I guess more of what they're trying to say is drag is perverted, right? Is that what they're trying to say when they say that? Because I do drag shows all the time that we have to do for all ages. Sometimes not necessarily that we want young people to come. It's just more, it's going to be in a space where they can. So we keep it like Disney characters and like Princess Peach. Like I do a lot, like things that like kids can see without it like being offensive, right? It's not necessarily the characters, it's like the whole thing, like the look, the performance, whatever. So me as Princess Peach, is that somehow perverted? I think that's more of maybe what your question is. I'm just giving an example, obviously. Like I've never looked more demure and innocent and than when I do like some of these characters, right? So and look, I can't help it, kids love me. Like when I'm in cosplay, especially like in drag and like something like big, colorful, because there's things I like. Kids usually like that because that's, kind of what they watch also, And so we do these shows where like all ages can come, and that's where maybe they're getting the like drag is perverted in itself. Not that I mean, maybe they're thinking the drag queens or performers are perverts, but I was thinking now and thinking about more of like the art itself is, they think, is a perversion. Maybe more is the incorrect thing that they're thinking. Because like, what's the difference between like me dressing up as a Disney princess versus like a pretty cis woman, depending obviously what we're talking about here, but just doing like a performance out in, I don't know, a public area, to me there's no difference. So yeah, the answer is no. I'm just giving you more examples of why it's no.
There is this sort of irrational fear when it comes to like individuals when they're confronted with the thought of drag queens in like public spaces where like even like youth or like people who don't want to see that kind of stuff, whoever those individuals are who don't want to see this kind of performative art. And maybe it's like this mentality that like individuals like who are like drag queens and like maybe like the form itself, and like sure there are like certain individuals within like the drag community, and it kind of like comes hand in hand for some individuals who do have like this kind of like not lecherous, but like this more adult oriented like kind of jokes where like people who are viewing the art or the performances are kind of like in on the joke as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. We love that kind of stuff.
There are definitely like different like kinds of shows. Like there are like PG shows for like a more general audience, and like usually like drag performances, they do like clarify like if it is like a more 18 plus show. You mentioned earlier that there are like kind of burlesque performances as well, and like I've seen like drag strip shows as well. But like inherently, I mean, everyone is kind of perverted in like some form or another. Some people like keep it more like behind closed doors than other individuals, but like as you said, we love a pervert, but we don't like predators. And like sometimes like there is like that distinction that like people just don't see inherently.
Like, I guess my response is someone who does say what the question is, like that's their response, like that's what they think. And I'm like, well, do you think like Beyonce is a pervert? Do you think like Lady Gaga is a pervert? Do you think Dolly Parton is a pervert? I'm trying to think of even like someone more like, is Shania Twain a pervert? Celine Dion? Like these are like the things you see in drag shows all the time. Also, these are like celebrities people impersonate. And if their response is no, then like what's the difference, you know?
I don't know. It could be like going back to that mentality of like dogmatism and like being like super like into like your belief system. And you're not always right. You're not always correct, and that's why it is important to listen to the opposition sometimes.
Agreed.
So my last one is and you kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier. Should drag be kept away from youth?
I'm an expert on this, I would say, at least, because I work with kids like every week, every weekend. That's what I do. Like, so I don't really see why that seems to be an issue for several things. Because my generation, we grew up with drag. Like, we grew up with Mrs. Doubtfire and Tootie and Bugs Bunny and like so many cartoons even that I can't even think of offhand because it was so common for one of the characters to just dress up like a male character to be dressed as a woman and for it to be like funny, right? And I mean, look, when I'm in drag, I don't mind people laughing at me, but like everyone has their own kind of performance. But to us as kids, that was funny, right? So I don't really understand why that's suddenly a thing almost out of nowhere, right? I'm assuming it's just because drag is so popular now, like Drag Race, drag brunches, and like so a lot of people ask me like, should they bring their kids to a drag show? And I'm like, well, you should bring them to an appropriate drag show, or you should take your own judgment. It's kind of like, do you take your kids to a PG movie? Do you take your kids to a PG-13 movie? Do you let your kids watch an R-rated movie? Because my mom would be watching like The Blob and like horror movies in front of me as a kid sometimes, not like anything crazy, but I do remember being like extra scared, right? Yeah. So, or if there was like a scene that she thought was like inappropriate, she might change the channel if it was on TV. So that's kind of like the thing is like you have to know what you're going into if you're bringing your child somewhere. So, but almost all put shows where like you can bring your kid are going to be appropriate for all ages. There have been shows that I've been in where the target demographic is adults to an extent. They might say like, you know, a good like 13 and up situation, right? But they're like, oh, there might be cursing, there might be whatever. So they tell you not to bring your kids basically. But sometimes people do because it's at like a restaurant. So anyone can come in there anytime. It's not like an adult space, right? So, but most of the shows I would do where kids can come are at a convention. It's a cosplay show. So like there is going to be stuff that kids will either like or they'll be appropriate for them. There is a really cool drag brunch that I've been a part of. And I was asked to I hosted one time where it kind of was what I'm saying, where it's going to be appropriate for all ages and you can bring your kids. And when I went there, I was like, oh my God, there's so many kids here. And they're so excited because I think some of the kids are like regulars there. And it was just like a lot of fun, like princesses and like now K-pop demon hunters. Because this is the stuff that like my side of drag, like the cosplay side, we love this stuff, right? Like we love anime, we love video games, we love Disney. So doing a Disney show for adults is a lot different than a Disney show for all ages. But also sometimes I do the same performances. I don't always do something racy. So you kind of just look into what shows you're going to. If you're at like somewhere that's out in public, like a Pride festival or something, because I've done my show at a Pride festival, it's probably going to be something just fine for any age to see. And I always tell people, so here's a picture of me as Spider-Man with a child, and here's a picture of me as Princess Peach with a child, because I have many of photos of both. And I'm like, tell me what's the difference. Tell me what's inappropriate about one and what's not inappropriate about the other.
There is almost this irrational fear sometimes especially when it comes to like more conservative states. I remember like reading in the news recently that it was actually one case of like keeping drag out of like schools or something, and like more of like it was like Kansas or Kentucky or one of those kind of states. But they actually won. And there was like another video that I saw of like ICE agents almost trying to detain a drag individual who was just reading stories to children, like completely innocent behavior. And for some reason, like there is like this kind of like irrational fear when it comes to like drag. I don't understand the mentality that comes from it. But like I think it's almost imperative for like youth to be exposed to like drag performances and everything. It really teaches like certain like children to be more empathetic, or even like to be even aware of like certain individuals like within these sort of like LGBT spaces. It's a great introduction to like for kids to like be exposed to those things at an early age, so they don't end up being completely against like people
Hateful
who are
bigots.
just trying to be. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, actually, so I did my first drag story time recently, and I was Princess Peach. So, it was a video game themed event. So that was really cool, and that's why they wanted me as Princess Peach. And I was kind of like a little worried about it. I didn't get any pushback like on this specific event, but I will tell you about some others. So I came out. They asked me to do a little like lip sync, and I did a little one of like a Mariah song, and Peaches from the Mario movie was in there a little bit,
Yes.
and like some cute dialogue that I always do. I just like have a version that I do that's funnier for an adult audience, and then I have one that's more appropriate for any ages. And then they had me read a Mario book, which I had. Because like literally I'm doing what I do for kids parties, just I don't do Princess Peach at kids parties. Well, no one's asked me to. I would do it, yes, but I have like, a cis female performer who will do that, right? But I have a book for Mario because I do Mario all the time. And so I have like the same book, but I was a little nervous about it because I was like, what if some kid is like, "Are you a boy?" Which has happened at conventions because of my voice. And I would just say, "Yeah, I am." Like I wouldn't lie to them. Well, because I identify as male, out of drag and cosplay. But but I will tell you, not a single kid, there's probably at least 20 or more kids at this event, questioned anything, thought anything was weird. Like the kids were sitting all around me. I read the Mario book. I was nervous. I was talking in like a very like high-pitched voice, trying to be in character, and some kids like were like little girls, and there was oh my god, there's girls and boys, and they were like in love with me, and they're like, "Oh my god, like I love your shoes," and like stuff like that, like cute stuff. And then they all took pictures with me. And a lot of people always say like, why do drag queens want to read to kids? Why aren't they reading in like prisons or like retirement homes? And I'm like, oh, I will do it. I will do both of those things. You send the check my way, like, yeah, like we are getting paid for the most part. I'm sure there might be some drag story times that like are more volunteer, but most of them like they are paid because you're kind of almost at this point you're putting yourself in danger in our like political climate. So I'm like, you want to pay me to come to a prison? I would love to. You want to pay me to perform at a retirement home, which I'm sure actually that has happened. I'm sure there's been like a little drag show at a retirement home, right?
Right.
That would be actually really fun. So that's the thing is like we're here doing a job. We're here showing an art form. And I have gotten backlash of like I've done like a pride festival in like a small city, and there was like people on like Facebook that were like, why are we having this blah blah blah, and in like it's like at a park or something. And then what's hilarious is like a lot of the guests were taking video, and it's just like we did do a whole little Mario Brothers skit and a bunch of other characters, and they were like, oh, here's the drag show everyone was so worried about. You know, I've gotten like backlash with that, but really not too much else. I haven't gotten any too much of conventions having, you know, any kind of backlash, because like conventions, we're used to seeing people dressed up. For the most part, we don't care who it is, you know.
Yeah. It's funny that you mention those kind of like the backlash is coming from like platforms like Facebook and everything. I watched this really it's always Facebook.
Now it's like Threads, but you know, they're all linked.
Right. They're all over the place now. But it's kind of funny. I watched this this really like eye-opening documentary like about this kind of like aspect. It was Will Ferrell and his friend who was who is transitioning. It was called Will and Harper. And
yeah,
kind of like the oh, it was great. Yeah. Kind of the conclusion that they came to though was you hear like this kind of backlash online all the time, but usually when you meet those individuals like face to face, like there isn't a lot of that backlash like in person. Like people like kind of like keep their own opinions to themselves until they have this anonymity online, and like there's less of like an immediate backlash to them, because to them it's just words on a screen, and sometimes like these words can like have like a powerful impact on like certain individuals. But like if you meet someone like in person like that, if you go to these events in person, like you don't really see a lot of that, and like you just have like a experience that's just completely normal. No one's like really harming anyone at a drag performance or anything, like especially with like the youth. Like, you know, you have to like raise your youth to be more like open to this kind of stuff, unless you want like someone to grow up with like a completely narrow mindset.
I think maybe one thing too is one small part. Maybe some people they think like a drag show is the same as like a stripper, and not there's anything wrong with someone who's a stripper. Like, yes, I was talking about drag and burlesque are like overlap, but like obviously there's not burlesque going on at like a drag show that's like out in public, you know. Like a lot of times when you're at a real burlesque, when I say real, I mean like a burlesque show, just any of them, you're usually not even allowed to like film and stuff, because like it's like a secluded kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But I think when the reason they think that is because of like the tipping culture that we have, like, and if they see like a little kid hand someone like $1, which some drag shows that for kids there is no tipping really involved, and sometimes there is, or when it's open like a pride thing, you know, sometimes the people aren't close to the performers, right? But sometimes they are. Like in my shows, usually they are, and they think you're like dancing for money, and I'm like, oh honey, like I'm not a dancer, okay, in any drag show really for the most part. But like it's not, there's, to me it's not, they think it's like a sexual thing because if there's money involved, and I'm like, for us it's like a tipping culture. Like I think cosplay shows should be tipping, like, or like cosplay at cons almost, you know. When photographers take my photo for free, if they have a QR code, I tip them, you know. Also when, you know, I go, obviously when you go to a restaurant you're tipping, but like sometimes there are like what's another example, like a cabaret show or like street performers, you tip street performers, right? Or like well, you should be, or you know, like little things like that. When there's people on the street making balloon animals, like a street performer, people are supposed to tip them, right? Some people tip their mailman, which I mean, I don't know anyone that personally does that, but I've heard about that on TV, and I was like, oh, well, you know what, that mailman deserves that tip. So I don't know if that's the confusion. They think that like tipping is like a sexual thing, or they're thinking more along the lines of like stripping or a stripper. But like the thing is, like at a drag show, we don't, if you don't tip me, or any drag show, if you're not tipping me and you are tipping me, you're not, there's nothing like different happening in your head necessarily. It's still like the same performance is happening. So when it's like an all ages situation, like sometimes the kids are tipping us with their parents' money, right? And I like when I did the all ages show where I hosted at that one specific venue, I did say like a joke of like get that allowance from your parents now, like, you know, I was like saying like a joke because like the kids they like doing it because it's fun, because it is, when you're watching a drag show, yes, it is fun to like give them a tip also, just at like a regular old drag show as an adult. So like the kids are like just having fun doing that too, from my experience, right? And it's not seen as like, it's not seen as weird. They're having fun. They don't have to give us a tip, right? It's really the parents that are tipping us, but like the kids see the parents doing it too, maybe, and they're like, yeah, like I don't know. So maybe that is a confusion there. They think that like drag is like a strip thing because there is tipping involved a lot, but it's really not. You know, like I will be doing a drag show for adults in a full costume, covering everything, and I'll go home with a good old bag of money. So it's the same thing when I do an all ages show usually. Like, you know, we do alter our numbers for the audience. So I don't know. Maybe I really didn't think about that until recently, because when some people were like, "Oh, we're gonna let kids go to the strip clubs now too," and I'm like, "Well, that's not at all the same thing."
No, they're very different. I mean, I've never myself been to like a strip club or anything, but I imagine it's a very different like kind of environment altogether. But bottom line is like there is no reason to like fear drag queens around children. Like there is no, at least from my perspective, like I don't see anything wrong with like having a drag performer around a child, or like children going to see drag shows, like especially if they are all ages, like acceptance, because like they're just people like having fun, man. It's just a show. Like calm the frick down.
Most of us don't want to be around kids either, and I'm actually one of them. and I do that for a living. Like I perform for children all the time. I don't even like kids. Like I like to perform for them sometimes. You know, like it's like it is that they can be like a fun audience and I have a good time, but I'm there for the money. I'm there for the job, right? Like,
yeah.
But most drag queens too, they're like, I don't want to be around your kids, ew. And I actually do feel the same for the most part.
100%. Same here, honestly. So do you have any advice for people like us who want to pursue drag professionally?
I didn't really talk about it. I just fell into doing drag also. But I would say you kind of have to like just go out there and find the right places to perform at. Well, there's several ways maybe, but you know, there's a lot of like, they call it like an open stage or like a tip spot, which is where you would just do a performance and you're not paid for the performance, but like the audience, anything the audience tips you, you know, you take home with you. But you know, so you gotta look for places like that. Maybe is a good place to start. There are like a lot of competitions. I don't know if you want to start with a competition, but I know that anyone can usually enter them. So things like that, but or like a competition of the night, right? Maybe it's like, the winner takes home like, I've seen like $100. $100 is a lot. I've seen $50 maybe, or which is also like for like whoever gives the best performance, whether it be like a judges or maybe it's the audience, just like cheers for like whoever they want to win. There's stuff like that you got to look for at venues, but also you just got to go out like dressed up to be noticed. Sometimes definitely by other people around you, but like other performers, the bars, the venues, like they'll have to like be used to seeing you maybe. And that would be my biggest tip, is just to like go out there and do it, whether it's do it just for fun, also just to like be seen. Other people do stuff online, you know, they post videos of themselves and maybe somehow they not like get noticed, but maybe they will, but more like it kind of is a good practice also. Well, you know, makeup and all that. Those are kind of my two things I would say to do. Or you can reach out. You can reach out to the venues or other performers and be like, "Hey, you know any places where I can get in somewhere and do a performance, whether it be paid or not? You know, like maybe they will know somewhere where they'll want to hire you right away to do a number."
All right, cool. Great advice. But that about wraps up all of my questions. Thank you so much for joining me. Remind everyone where they can find you.
Sure, yeah. You can follow me at Jimmy Sherfy on Instagram, Facebook, I guess Threads. I don't really use too many other. I do have a TikTok. I do post on there every now and then, but I'm not as adequate at doing all that. I also have a whole bunch of dates that people can see me that I could list off for you. So if you're in LA, April 12th, there's a Disney brunch. It's called Disney Gay, and it's at Precinct in LA. And then back here in San Diego, for my birthday, I am having a big birthday bash, April 22nd. Urban Moe's is the venue in San Diego. It's a cosplay show. And April 26th, I'm wrapping up my birthday at Rich's at Stunt is the show. And all of these are on my Instagram, or they will be eventually if they are not. In May, my show, House of Cosplay, May 15th, will be at Niji Fest, which is like a queer LGBT anime con in Anaheim. So that would be cool. And then I'm doing a panel at that con too on the Sunday, which is the 17th. June 12th through 14th, I'll be at Hentai Matsuri. So that is an 18 plus convention. My House of Cosplay drag show will be there as well. I'm not sure what day. And I'm not sure yet, but there may be a new boylesque edition at that con since it is a hentai show convention. June 20th, I'm at QCon, which is in West Hollywood, which is another queer convention. That one's pretty fun. I don't really know if I'm doing anything there, but I will be there as like a guest. And since you mentioned Gem, we are having GemCon in San Diego, September 11th through the 13th. I know I'm doing a cosplay panel. I'm like a judge in the costume contest. The night before, which is September 10th, there is a pre-drag show at Urban Moe's, which is the same venue as my birthday. I perform there a lot. So there's going to be a whole like Gem 80s cartoons drag show. I'm super excited. That's not until September, but that's a lot. I got a lot on my plate this year, and I'm excited for it. But yeah.
Oh my god, so exciting. But thank you so much again. Please go check him out in the link in the description below. Show him all the love and support. This has been Cutiespectives. I'm Jasmine Page, and I will see you all with another very special guest next month. Until then, take care of yourselves and have a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to share your perspectives down in the comments below and let me know who you'd like to see in a future video. See you next time!